Okay, so this is huge, right? What are some fundamental? Okay, this is actually perfect barrel. This is something that every player should know. This is the most basics of basics, right? So when you every time you push a button and it goes into like a little clock, reset like thing like this, that's the global cooldown, shortened to GCD, right? Anything that you push that does not cause that circle to reset is an OGCD, off global cooldown, right? So if I use, circle scorn while this is rotating, I can use it fine, right? The biggest thing I can recommend people, or GCD uptime, is to ABC, always be casting. Make sure that clock circle thing is always moving. When you're learning, it doesn't matter if you hit the wrong button. Make sure you're hitting something, right? And yes, the GCD default is 2.5, right? So it doesn't matter what you hit so long as you hit something. That's the basics of the basics. Make sure that little clock thing is constantly cycling, right? But your combo, Chang, this is for like the basics of the basics. That's like level 1, right? Yes, I would rather you spam fast blade over and over than just walk away and not do anything. If your GCDs are kind of just sitting there refreshed and you're not doing anything, that is worse than hitting the wrong thing, right? That's level 1. Level 2 is now you got to start hitting the right things in order, right? So like once you get down like global cooldown, like GCD uptime, then you can start worrying about your combo, right? So you see this flashing thing, you want to go fast blade, you want to go right blade, you want to go royal authority, and then you see this thing over here, you atonement, you use that. So then you start to worry about what to push, but make sure you're always hitting something first. Okay, that's the basics of GCDs. I will probably put this in a video at some point. Right? This is the basics of basics. A little side note: if you watch high-end raiders or people playing this game a lot, you'll see that they'll spam the ability even though it's not ready, right? And there's two reasons for this. For one, it keeps your mind occupied so that you're alert at all times, right? And so they'll just spam it. One is boredom, yeah, kind of. That's the less nice way to say it, right? It's boredom. There's nothing else to do other than push that button over and over. Second reason, right? If you were to sit there and try to use your reaction time to hit something as soon as the cooldown refreshes, you will always be late. Like, I guess I can make a side-by-side comparison by trying to hit them as soon as the cooldown ends, right? So like I hit fast blade, wait for it to refresh, and hit it again. There will always be a few millisecond delay. But if you hit the ability before it refreshes, you will queue up the next ability so that it uses it as soon as it's available. For example, if I hit fast blade and I hit right blade right now, it'll use it as soon as possible. That's the second reason why people spam stuff. That's called ability queuing. This also applies to OGCDs to an extent. Now that we've covered the basics of GCD uptime and, keeping everything, I can't speak. But we've gotten that basics down, so now we can add OGCDs into the equation, right? So, believe it or not, most actions, if not all, have a animation time of about 0.7 seconds before you can cancel them, right? So I use a GCD, and for 0.7 seconds after, the game will not let me do anything for 0.7 seconds, right? In that time period between GCDs, you can use your off global cooldowns because, again, they're not affected by OGCDs. But those also have a 0.7 second animation, right? So mathematically, if we think out, a GCD is 2.5 seconds. You can't do anything for the first 0.7, right? You use one OGCD, and then you gotta wait 0.7 seconds. That's 1.4 seconds. Then you can do another OGCD for 0.7 seconds, and that'll be 2.1 seconds. If you do anything beyond the second O GCD, the time it'll take for that animation to complete will overlap with your next GCD being available. So if you want to do 3 OGCDs, that would take 2.8 seconds, even though your GCD is 2.5 at the max. If that happens, that's called clipping. You do not want to clip. You want to limit yourself to 2 OGCDs for every GCD action, right? So this would be unoptimal. If I want to use 3 things, like, you know, Rampart, Spirits Within, and Circle of Scorn, you would see that I use Circle of Scorn before I can use Riot Blade. Or, yeah, I would finish using Circle of Scorn after the GCD refreshes. So, as a player, as a player who's learning, what you want to do is try to space them out, right? So, like, I want to Fast Blade, use 2 OGCDs, and then add my third one after the next GCD. If you have 4 things, you want to split them into GCD, 2 OGCDs, another GCD, 2 OGCDs. So that you'll always have a maximum of 2 OGCDs in between each GCD. Yes, that's called weaving. If your ping is decent, you'll be able to double weave. It's called double weave. If your lag is pretty bad and you can't do 2 OGCDs without clipping, then you'll be asked to do single weave. There are some things that can't be animation cancels, like Dragoon jumps, and that's why those are called animation locks. And that's why, you know, a lot of Dragoons are memed on for being lol Dragoons, because of animation lock and they'll die, right? Like, the animation for Dragoons, Dragonfire, Spine Shatter, and normal jumps are longer than 0.7. And they'll generally die to an AoE. I'm looking at you, Chang. Right? So, like, because with that in mind, because they're longer than 0.7 seconds, you do not want to double weave any of the jumps with any other OGCDs, right? So, like, if I try to do Dragonfire Dive with, I don't know, we'll just do Arm's Length, for example, right? That took a lot. The amount of time it took me to use Arm's Length after Dragonfire was way more than 0.7 seconds. So, like, I'll try to do Spine Shatter and Battle Litany after a GCD, and we'll see how quickly my GCDs will reset, right? See, if you look, I used Battle Litany, or my character used Battle Litany, like, when there was, like, a tiny sliver of my GCD left. Does Lance Charge have an animation lock? No. Lance Charge is a standard 0.7 seconds animation. I think that covered a good section of the fundamentals of GCDs.